It's something I've always wanted to talk about, and I do love it. And then, so it's I mean, look, aliens. The alien thing is getting it's batting around. Like what we're talking about. It's serious. It's getting serious.
I think if we had done this podcast 5 years ago, it'd be much different. It's becoming, and you listeners might not even know this yet, but it's becoming a mainstream. People are talking about it.
People are talking about it on the news.
It's no longer crazy people.
By the time this comes out, we may have already found them.
Right.
Yeah. So read the main thing that came out, the latest thing that we mentioned on the other podcast.
The New York Times article?
Yeah.
So,
Peer review.
New York Times, well, they've actually broken a couple of stories. In 2017, they were the first one to break that story about the video we've seen of the Tic Tac UFO.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which was shot in like early 2000s, but
never thought it looked like a Tic Tac. That always seemed, it was like a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like, it looks like a little Tic Tac, and you're like, okay. Does it look like a Tic Tac?
I'll pull up the video. Yeah.
So that was in 2017. They broke a story about that and had that video, which the government last year confirmed was real. And then back earlier this year, they did a story about a Pentagon program called Unidentified Aerial Phenomenal Task Force, which was to collect things on UFOs. And in that story, they quote people like Marco Rubio, who says, we're just trying to figure out what's going on, things like that. The most interesting, probably, quote from the whole thing was Eric Davis, an astrophysicist, works as a subcontractor and consultant for the Pentagon, said in some cases they found material that we couldn't make ourselves. And as recently as this past March, he gave a briefing about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. That's the big comment. Well,
the Israeli? No, is that the Israeli?
Oh, no. That's the New York Times story. Now, the Israeli story came out just a couple of weeks ago, and that's
so he's saying that guy said they haven't seen the vehicles, right? Or
this guy Eric Davis
said they've seen.
To me, it sounds like he says he did.
Yeah, we have some that they weren't made here on Earth.
He works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor.
Yeah.
About retrieval of off-world vehicles. Now, the Israeli guy, that didn't get a lot of traction because I guess people just think he's crazy. But this was a retired, I'll have to find it here, but he's a retired Israeli Air Force guy.
Yeah. So this is when Bobby Burns is talking about science.
Yeah.
Like this Israeli guy sounds legit as far as title and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody just says he's crazy. There's that great thing that Chappelle said. You ever watch...
here it is.
What's the Inside the Actor Studio?
Yeah,
Talks about Martin Short.
Right.
He's like, they call you crazy. Like, so they don't understand you. They just call you crazy.
Yeah.
And like, so I think about that a lot. Like, and it's in everything where you're like, I'm not saying this is again, he might be crazy. And that's the whole point of this, but he might not be. And with the titles, and to go back with the peer review and the science, like all this kind of stuff is you have all this where it's like they'll be like, well, don't be crazy, dude. That guy's crazy. And you're like, we don't know if that guy's crazy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what he does. I don't get it. No one's like, so it's like, and when I think of that thing that Chappelle says, anytime I hear someone, I say everybody's crazy too. So, but I'm not saying I'm above any of this, but when someone tells me something is crazy or someone's crazy, and unless I feel it, or if I did like this, I would like, I don't know. I'd like to see. I'd like to see if he's crazy. But that's very easy way to dismiss someone. He's crazy. It's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Don't even listen to him.
I always think anytime I don't believe something, I always have to remind myself, somebody smarter than me disagrees with me on that that topic. I mean, that's almost always the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are smart people on the other side of every issue. So you might have your nose in the air and look down on people that believe in UFOs, but that dude right there is probably smarter than most people.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. He is a former head of Israel's defense ministry space direction, I guess is what. And he says that we have agreement. This just came out a couple of weeks ago. We have agreements that have been signed between species, between aliens and the U.S. government. He's Israeli, but he says it's the U.S. government because I guess we're number one. And we have an underground base in the depth of Mars. We have an underground base in the depth of Mars where there's an American astronauts and alien representatives. And he says President Trump was aware of the extraterrestrial existence and has been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to in order to prevent mass hysteria. I bet Trump negotiated a good deal.
I can't believe he hasn't just let it out.
Do you think there'd be mass hysteria? I mean, we've proven that this stuff's out there and people don't care.
They do care. It's again like this is that it's not out there. And if they wanted this to be the number one story that you hear about, think about every time that they complain about or they say something about Trump. Imagine that's aliens. How much information that is.
Yeah.
So when you look at your phone, it's just news is popping up, right?
Yeah.
Think about COVID. So how scared we are of all these cases. And they keep just telling us more and more cases and more and more cases. If that was more and more like alien life form was just popping up and you're like 500, like more, how much more scared of that? COVID is like, it's a disease. We have diseases. We can all wrap our head around diseases. If it's like aliens, you're going to, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. I mean, they can just land and I don't know, blow your home up. Like it doesn't matter.
I guess that's right. Cause a disease deadly and everything, but it's not going to disrupt.
No one's grabbing a hold of these UFO stories because I mean, we're talking about this in a joking way and I can't wrap my head around it. Like it being real. I want it, you think like it's crazy, but yeah, you can't wrap your head around, dude, what are they going to look like? What do they do? Can they fly? Can they just fly in the air? That's kind of crazy to think like, if that guy is true, there's either nothing or there's something.
Yeah.
So it's either nothing and this is the world we know it and we live in this world and then, it's a boring world that we've already done everything. I'm not saying it's boring at all. But if there's aliens, that means the stuff you see in movies is people flying. Aliens they can fly. They have aircrafts that I said one of them has like when you say a water one go in the water and it can
that Tic Tac one.
Yeah,
I didn't mention that. But I never caught on to that until I read the story this time. They said the first thing they saw when they went to investigate it was the water was swirling, and then they could see a shadow of it in the water, and then next thing you know, it was above it. Some people think UFOs are hiding underwater in our oceans.
They can go. What did I watch? Someone said it was like 100 knots or something. Like it was faster than
I don't know what a knot is.
Huh?
I don't know. What's a knot?
I don't know either, but it seems like a lot. There's 100 of them.
It did sound pretty fast.
Yeah. How much is a knot?
Yeah, we'll do the research here.
How hot is an oven?
How hot is it?
I feel like I used to know knots.
You said it with confidence. Like, you can know 100 knots.
Yeah. Well, I think 100 knots is a lot.
100 knots is 115 miles per hour. So that's, I mean.
Underwater.
Okay.
Oh, underwater's different.
Underwater.
All
so
right.
through water.
I think my minivan could go 100 knots.
Yeah. Yeah. How fast can say submarine underwater? What's the fastest thing that can go underwater? And they think they can go faster than this.
That luxury hotel can go.
Yeah, it goes up and down.
Yeah.
How far down are we now?
U.S. nuclear-powered submarines can go a little faster than 23 miles per hour or 20 knots. So it's 5 times faster than a nuclear submarine.
By the way, so knots are basically the same as miles per hour?
They're close enough that you can...
Like, what an absolute... just trying to sound like you're doing something different.
Yep.
So driving a boat's like driving a car. You're like, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Is that find an airplane? Yeah, it's probably the same. That's what Aaron says. Find an airplane, same as find a boat. You can't operate both the same.
Now, my point was that the basics of them, the idea is the same, but they're just 2 different disciplines.
If one stops, you plummet out of the air.
Yeah, a torpedo, 200 knots.
If this guy's right, and these aliens came from some star millions and billions and billions mile away. I love that the fact we saw it, we need a halfway point. How about Mars? Which is, that's what I bet Trump negotiated. We'll meet you, but we're not going past Mars.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I mean,
yeah. Because we can't. We haven't even got there yet.
Maybe that's the thing. We're like, look, we'll meet you, but we can't go past Mars. But they're like, that's not fair, dude. I'm going like 98% of the way.
Yeah.
And you're only going 2.
Yeah.
He's like, well, that's the deal.
That's the deal.
So
well, I think they're moving so much quicker. I think you'd meet here.
Yeah.
He's saying they'd meet somewhere?
He says we have an underground base on Mars where there's American astronauts and aliens that are working on stuff. That's the part that's hard to believe. Not that it's not all hard to believe, but
So
That's where I
there's-
quit.
So people are on Mars.
this guy's
By the
saying
way, that I got, if you, and just so you know which episode we recorded it, if you listen to the Christmas episode,
yeah.
I got made fun of, but apparently,
But I mentioned this on that
yeah,
episode.
people are on Mars.
I mentioned this,
Yeah.
to defend you on that one. So yeah, it's just funny that he'd come all that way. We're like, we'll meet you, but we're not going past Mars.